Good morning, everyone. Thanks for connecting with us today. We're super excited to have Keith Patterson with us. He's a site manager at the Beaver Valley Nuclear Power Station. And before we chat with Keith, I want to say thanks to everybody for connecting, everybody coming out to learn about what Keith has to offer and a variety of different trades. I want to say a special thanks to our partnership with the Northwest PA Job Connect. That's our local workforce development board. We wouldn't be able to have these contacts if it wasn't for that partnership. So thanks. And my name's Nick. I work at the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit. And when we go live here with Mr. Keith Patterson, you'll notice somewhere on your screen there's like a little chat bubble with a question mark in it. Anytime Keith says something or I say anything, you have a question, don't hesitate to throw those questions in there. We're also going to post a link to the Beaver County. Well, Keith will talk to you a little bit more about that, but we'll make an announcement of a link, very important link for today. So without further ado, I'm going to send Keith live, and Keith is currently at the Beaver Valley Nuclear Power Station. Keith, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So Keith, why don't you tell us a little bit about your position as site manager? And I mean, I know they make power down there, but tell us a little bit about nuclear power and what you do.
Okay, so the power station is owned by Energy Harbor. They've owned the company now for about a year. They have 3 nuclear sites in their fleet. One is Davis-Besse up in Toledo, Ohio. One is Perry Nuclear Generating Station in Ashtabula, Ohio. And then we have 2 units here at Beaver Valley. I don't work for Energy Harbor. I work for a company by the name of Day & Zimmerman, NPS. And their main offices are in Philadelphia and Charlotte, North Carolina. So Day & Zimmerman's primary functions, they do the maintenance and modifications at right around 30 different nuclear power stations in the country, including one in Canada. They also have an engineering department, staffing. They have a large ammunition and manufacturing division, and they're located in about 150 different locations worldwide. So that's a little background on Day & Zimmerman. It's ranked by Forbes magazine as one of the largest privately owned companies in the United States. So that's a little background of the company and what we do here. We support refueling outages at the power stations. We have about roughly 30 to 50 different crafts on site at all times. And then we spend a large portion of our day focusing on the next refueling outage. That's when they take all the fuel out of the reactor. They perform the required maintenance and modifications to keep the plant running for another 18 months for our sites. The 2 units up north are on a 2-year cycle. So we do the same thing at all the different sites. Go ahead.
No, you were saying now your role there is, we'll talk a little bit about the outages and refueling. You manage all different crafts, and what kind of crafts are going into a refueling process? What do you have to coordinate?
Okay, so we hire all of our crafts out of the Beaver County building trades, different locals. We're going to go over that here more in a minute. We usually hire between 350 and 450 men and women out of the construction unions, from boilermakers to carpenters, laborers, electricians, pipe fitters, just to name a few. And we go in and we'll do all the modifications and repairs that they assign to our department. Usually an outage is between 24 and 28 days, depending on the amount of work they want to get done. So we spend a large portion of our run cycle preparing for the next outage. You know, we bring all those people in for about 6 weeks. The outage is 3 weeks. There's usually about 3 or 4 weeks of prep work to do before the outage starts. We do all that work, and then those craft men and women, they go back to the halls and go to work elsewhere.
So an outage, you have 3 reactors, 3 nuclear reactors there?
No, just 2.
Just 2. So when one shuts down, what are they? When you say they're changing out the power source, or what are they doing?
Well, they take all the fuel out of the reactor core, and it's still active, radioactive, so they have to keep it submerged in the spent fuel pool. So they basically offload the reactor core. We do all the maintenance and modifications and repairs necessary, and then they replace the fuel back into the vessel. And when they do that, they replace it with 1/3 new fuel. So there's about 151 fuel assemblies in the reactor. So they'd replace about 50 of those with new fuel bundles. to make it for the next 18 months.
Yeah, and there's a lot of folks behind the scenes, and that's what Keith's role is he's a site manager for all these different roles, and just to make that happen. What's the primary fuel source for nuclear power?
Uranium.
Okay.
Yeah.
And whenever that goes down, they're still producing power with the one reactor?
Yes.
Okay. And I was reading on one, and I want to shout out to all the attendees and anybody watching this. There's a great flyer that Keith put onto our website next to him. Nuclear power is deemed a clean energy. Is that true?
That's correct. A lot of the states and the governments are considering it clean power. You'll see that. I know New York just did something last year. Ohio had an act that was put in place, a House bill. Pennsylvania, they've went through the government a couple different times to try to get relief. You'll see more of that to come across the country.
Okay. Yeah. And what kind of waste is there with it?
Well, the fuel, after it's completely exhausted, has been in the fuel pool for roughly 30 years before the fuel pool reached its maximum capacities. And now the new thing nationwide is dry fuel storage campaigns. And it's like a concrete mausoleum style structure that we keep on site. We just did our third refueling campaign here at Beaver Valley, and they moved 4 more canisters of fuel out into that area. So it's housed all on site.
Yeah. So there's the media and a lot of the cartoons. I remember we talked about The Simpsons, about how the nuclear power, like the toxic stuff, leaks into the rivers. That doesn't happen. You guys contain that all on site.
That's correct. The majority of it's kept in the spent fuel pool. That's the way the sites were designed. But you see, the majority of the sites were only originally designed to run for about 30 years. And now they're all getting to the end of that original license period. They've got license extensions for most of the sites now in the country. But the problem is the spent fuel. The pool's only so big. They reconfigured the pool to try to get a little more space. And now almost all the sites are into the dry fuel storage.
I see. So let's shift gears a little bit, Keith. Tell us about some of the crafts that you manage there that are on site.
Okay, so first of all, I want to take just a second and let you know my position here as site manager. I graduated high school. I went to the electrical apprenticeship, IBEW Local 712 in Beaver, Pennsylvania. Their jurisdiction is Beaver, Lawrence, Mercer, and Crawford County. What I really wanted to focus on today were the building trades as a whole. A lot of students when they get to the end of their school time and they don't know what to do next or what college to go to or what career they want to choose. The building trades provides a great opportunity for tens of thousands of people across this end of our state, let alone the country. And they're very strong and active in our area. So you want me to share the website now, or you want to?
Yeah, go ahead and you can share the screen. And anybody out there, I'm going to make an announcement. This is the link to it. So go ahead, Keith.
Okay. So just a couple things here I could share for you. The Beaver County Building Trades, this is their website, beavercountybuildingtrades.com. It goes by you click on the trades affiliated with the building trades. You could just scroll down. This would be for any of the students that are interested in pursuing a career in the building trades. Be it the Teamsters, the plasters, the painters, millwrights. I'm just naming off a few. The steam fitters offer a really good apprenticeship and welding program. The welding program is an 18-week non-paid welding period apprenticeship. So they basically bring you there. They teach you everything there is to know about welding. It's on your time, and they do that on purpose. They want it to be individuals that want to learn and want to pursue the career as a steam fitter. They don't want somebody there just looking to get a paycheck for the 18 weeks and then disappear on them. They want to see your dedication. And most of them are like that. So the laborers, they got 2 different districts. They got the heavy highway group, and then they also have the general laborers group, the carpenters, iron workers. So them are just a few. I wanted to make sure International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Boilermakers, and just about all of these, even though it's labeled as the Beaver County Building Trades, just about all of these trades, their jurisdiction is either the western part of Pennsylvania or a large portion of western part of Pennsylvania. Some of the trades actually go across state lines, like the fitters, for instance, have almost the whole state of Pennsylvania. The carpenters and millwrights, they have like a tri-state area now. So it's a large portion of the geographical area. It's not just Beaver County. So I know a lot of the students today are probably from the northern counties in western Pennsylvania, I would assume.
Yeah, they're all across the states, all across Pennsylvania. So talk to us a little bit, Keith, about, so you manage all these different trades that are at the nuke. Is that your role?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I manage all the trades and all the staff we have on site on a day-to-day basis.
And your path took you through the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Talk to us a little bit about your path, like right out of high school. What did you do?
So when I graduated high school, I went to work for a local contractor until I could get into the apprenticeship. And then once I did my 5 years of electrical apprenticeship, I ended up down here as an electrician. I worked in the shop. I worked out in the field. I did that for about 5 years. And then I became part of the DZ organization. I've done this now in different roles since about 2012. So the majority of the staff that we have here are from one of these different unions. Most of them now are supervisors. We have some in the planning department, all different roles. But most of your local contractors across the country fill their management style positions with journeymen or people that have went through these apprenticeship programs. You know, instead of a 4-year degree from a college, you know, most of the management and supervisor roles are some sort of journeyman program, and they use that plus experience as the credentials.
Okay. Yeah, they basically growing people and your managers within.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
So if you go to the apprenticeship link, just for an example, just for some clarity, you know, just go down to, I don't want to drive people crazy, but if you go to the electricians here for an example, it tells you how many man hours you got to put in for the apprenticeship, how many, that's classroom hours, how many on the job hours. It also gives you down here some credentials. It tells you what you need to have, what you need to bring to the table. And it also gives you all the contact information for phone numbers and things like that. So if anybody wanted to go out and call and get some more information, they can do that, you know.
And IBEW is a little bit different than your steam fitters. Don't you have a paid apprenticeship through the IBEW?
No, you go to school 2 nights a week, the whole time, your whole 5-year apprenticeship. So. Okay. Yeah. The steam fitters have a couple of different ones. The welding program is special and unique, that 18-week welding program. The electricians, you normally would work the majority of your apprenticeship 40 hours a week or more, and then you take classes 2 nights a week on your own time.
I see.
Okay.
So, Keith, tell us a little bit about for your role as a site manager. What kind of specific hard skills do you need to have? You spend most of your time on a computer. Where do you spend, and what hard skills or knowledge base do you think is essential?
Well, a lot of the things that I learned in high school that I didn't use right away really came into play when I took these types of positions, whether it's the superintendent role or my position now as a site manager. You know, when you learn how to type and you learn how to use Microsoft Excel, and so just some of the basic functions that you think, what am I ever going to do with this? You know, it turned out that I use the majority of those things now in this role. And something simple like Excel, I know when you look at the blank spreadsheet in high school, you think, what does this do? You know, but I'm here to tell you, a spreadsheet rules the world. And, you stay highly organized, you're highly efficient, and it takes the place of about 300% of your memory. You know, so those are just some of the quick things that I've come to use here at work every day that I wondered what I'd ever do with. You know.
So you spend quite a bit of time on a computer. It's fair to say.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk about some of those soft skills. So now if you're managing all those different trades out there and those communication skills, what do you think you have to have in order to be effective in your position when you're working with all those different tradesmen?
Well, the biggest thing you got to be, no matter what position you hold or whether what career path you choose, you have to be self-motivated and a hard worker. Nothing comes easy. You got to work for it. One of the things I had to learn once I got into these roles was public speaking. I didn't do a lot of it in school. I didn't have a lot of classes on it or anything like that. And now I have to get up sometimes in upwards of 150 or 200 people and give them an on-site orientation. And that took a long time to get used to, but you can train yourself and you can work at it and practice. And now it seems to be one of the things I'm better at, but it takes a while.
How about approaching, like, if you're a manager, so you have to deal with successes and challenges with some of the tradesmen. How are you dealing with conflict and conflict resolution?
As far as dealing with it on a day-to-day basis, you try to just stay engaged with them. You try to make sure that the things don't get out of control. You try to resolve things quickly, and most importantly, you resolve them fairly. You want to follow your guidelines and do the same thing for the same disciplinary actions every time. You can't sway one way because they're your friend or one way because you don't like somebody. All of these people I worked with hand in hand in the field. I've known them they've come out of these locals and supported us for multiple outages. And sometimes that comes into your forefront. I really like this guy. I don't really want to do this to that guy, but you have to treat everybody fairly and equally.
Yeah, that's certainly a paramount skill that any manager is going to have to carry with them, is the fair, equal. Yeah. So tell us a little bit. You mentioned a little bit about your background in the IBEW. What are some other trades that are on site there with you? Could you go through all of the different trades that you manage?
Oh, sure. We have. Let me get my daily worksheet. That's probably the best place to start. We have a small crew of carpenters on site right now. They do all the scaffold building on site for our work. All right. And then during an outage, that's their primary function is scaffold. So a lot of people would think of the carpenters as building stuff, mostly houses, or they do a lot of work on bridges for forms and stuff like that. But here, their primary function is scaffolding. Okay. We have electricians on site just about year round. They do all kind of different modifications from security work for the nuclear sites are protected by an armed security force, very similar that you'd see like a federal penitentiary, with security towers all the way around the perimeter. So we do a lot of upgrades to their cameras and that type of thing. We do plant computer upgrades for the reactor, that control the reactor. We just do any kind of different modification or maintenance that they'd ask us to do. Battery bank work for the safety related systems, that keep the plant up and running in the event of an emergency. Now we have some insulators on site. All the piping inside the plant is insulated for heat and frost. We keep iron workers here just about year round. They do all kind of different activities. Majority of the station's rigging activities, along with some other stuff. We have laborers, millwrights. Millwrights usually go in and best way I could describe it is if you had to fine tune something, we set a large piece of machinery. The millwrights would take over once it's in place, and they would do all the fine adjustments, make sure it's level and square, and foundations are good and all that kind of stuff. So that's what a millwright does. It's a unique trade, but it's very, very beneficial and very important. We keep operating engineers on site. They run all the heavy equipment, cranes, forklifts, anything like that. We have a painter. Nuclear coatings is a big deal. It's a lot more intrusive than, let's say, painting a bridge, And that's really the interesting thing to nuclear power. Just about everything is monitored by a quality control program on site. So you're always subject to periodic inspection. A lot of the work, it's all documented, of course, but a lot of the work orders have hold points for those inspectors to come out and look at things. So the painters during an outage, they go in and paint the inside of the reactor containment building. So that's a big deal to the safety of the plant and the public, and make sure that the containment liner is intact. Okay, that's needed in the event of an emergency. So a lot of the things that we do here, the steam fitters, for an example, all the welds are inspected, and that's something that out in the general industry you don't see a lot of. All the welds are inspected by a qualified weld inspector, and the majority of them are inspected by the quality control department. So it's a very high level of standards.
Who is doing the inspection? You said there's a possibility of a pop-in inspection. Who does that?
On site, the station has their own quality assurance program and quality control inspectors.
And is that state or federal, or is that?
I believe that's a federal guideline, part of their licensing requirements.
Okay, so those are a lot of. So your tradesmen are having to adhere to those federal guidelines and potentially even state guidelines to make sure their work is a specific quality for, like you said, the safety of the workers and the public.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Keith, why don't you tell us a little bit about as we start to wrap up here. I want to shout out to anybody that's on here. If you have any questions for Keith, we're going to be shifting the questions here. What are some classes or potential courses that a kiddo might want to take a look at as they're working their way through high school, if they want to maybe figure out if the trades are for them or not? Do you have anything you could recommend that they should pay attention to at school?
Most of the trades require a minimum of like Algebra 1 for math. So that's just something that there's minimal credentials for all of them. A lot of people would think that the kids that would be interested in the trades would be somebody that went to a vocational school or something of that nature. I didn't do that personally. We did have a vocational agriculture class in high school, and the teacher there, when he went around the room and he asked us all what we wanted to be when we grew up, or what careers we wanted to choose. And I told him that I was planning to join the electrical union, that most of my family were electricians in the union. He was one of the few that knew anything about it. And he told me that's a good decision. He said, he had a friend that was in one of the unions, and I didn't. He was one of the few that had enough knowledge to encourage me in my career decision. Yeah. If I had to go back today and tell you I'd make the same decision, I probably would. I don't have any regrets. Kids that have rural communities, a lot of kids that are on farms, have good hands-on skills, that type of thing. It's very difficult when you look at the work with your guidance counselor and try to find a career path that you could say, oh, I want to do that. I know a lot about it, because it's kind of foreign to a lot of kids,
Sure.
So kids that have good, strong mechanical skills, work on a farm, maybe help somebody at an automobile shop or something of that nature. A lot of them probably have some skills operating machinery. Might have a small excavator or something at home, or even tractors, combines, anything like that.
Sure.
Be a good operating engineer. So it's a kind of a broad question of the classes. I thought that would maybe be a better explanation.
Yeah, you're spot on, and just the concept of working with your hands and your mind. Can't stress that enough. That a lot of people think that your trades are just that rote memorization over and over, but no, you have to plug in algebra, you have to plug in math, English language arts, plus knowing how to do something well at a specific quality. So it always comes up. Talk to us, and I've talked to you about this many times, is that the solution that we're all fighting against is this college for all mentality. And the trades offer such a foundation for stepping into the workforce and making great money. If you had to ballpark it, what would somebody coming right out of the IBEW or maybe the steam fitters, what would they be making in a year?
Once you got through your apprenticeship and you got to the journeyman status, You know, I'm going to say that the majority probably make in the $75,000 a year mark if they work the full year. You know, there's some places that they make much more depending on the hours that they work. You know, they're building the Shell gas plant down here right now, and those people have been working. I think they're working 58 hours a week, and they've been doing that now for a couple of years. So there's some great potential. You know, I'd say average is probably to $85,000 a year once you got your journeyman status.
Yeah, and that's food for thought for anybody out there just watching this recording, is that you have a choice of either going to college and maybe going $60,000 in debt in year one, or going through and working through something like this tradesman and walking out and doing something you love that's a skilled trade and making $70,000, $60,000 a year. So food for thought. Keith, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think I covered most everything I had jotted down. Yeah.
Okay, so we have if you had any parting word with our audience, now you have a microphone with an audience of maybe 6th to 12th graders here. What would be some parting words of advice from Keith Patterson, the site manager?
Well, I think the only thing I could tell all of them that it's a one size fits all is work hard. Okay, nobody's going to give you anything if you don't work hard for it. So do your best, stay focused.
That's great advice. And growing up with Keith, I knew that he always was a hard worker. And I want to say thanks to Keith for connecting with us. And this interview with Mr. Keith has been recorded, and we will post it on our website very shortly. And I want to say thanks to you guys for connecting and watching, and thanks to Keith for keeping, sounds like a lot of Southwestern Pennsylvania powered. So thanks again, Keith.
Thank you.